Listen here, you overgrown calamari, Dr. Amanda Rodriguez said, jabbing her finger at the horrified Vexithalx ambassador's chest membrane. I don't care if you've memorized every human military rank from private to fleet admiral. The captain is bleeding out, and I'm telling you to move your tentacles before I make calamari the special in the mess hall tonight. The ambassador's translation matrix struggled to process both the threat and the absolute authority radiating from this human who, according to their carefully compiled database of Earth's military hierarchy, held no official command rank whatsoever. But the protocols clearly state... The ambassador's speaking bladders pulsed in confusion. Yeah, and my protocols state that when someone's got a plasma burn that's eating through their thoracic cavity, I can tell God himself to wait in the hallway. Now move. The gathered crowd of humans, a mix of enlisted personnel and officers, were trying desperately not to laugh as the 8-foot-tall cephalopod ambassador practically tripped over his own tentacles, backing away from the 5'4" medical officer. Lieutenant Marcus Thompson leaned over to Specialist Patel and whispered, 20 credits says she makes him ink himself before this is over. No bet, Patel whispered back. Did you see what she did to Commander Bradley when he tried to reschedule his physical last month? The incident that would later become known across 3 sectors as the Dock incident had started innocently enough. The United Earth ship Nightingale was hosting the first official diplomatic summit between Earth and the Vexithalx consensus. Everything had been going swimmingly, quite literally, given the Vexithalx's natural habitat, until Captain Michael Hayes had an unfortunate reaction to the ceremonial greeting spray. Turns out humans were slightly allergic to Vexithalx friendship pheromones. Who knew? The ambassador's cultural attaché, a younger Vexithalx named Click Click Squish, which the crew had immediately shortened to Clicks, was frantically consulting their database. This cannot be correct. Our records indicate that medical personnel are support staff, subordinate to command structure. Yet this one, this Doc as you call her, she commands with impunity? Oh man, Specialist Patel grinned. Someone really should have warned them about Docs. The scene in the medical bay was pure chaos. Organized chaos, but chaos nonetheless. Dr. Rodriguez was simultaneously treating the captain's rapidly spreading plasma burn, shouting orders at her medical team, and continuing to dress down the ambassador who just wouldn't stay in the designated visitors area. If you wave those tentacles near my sterile field one more time, she threatened without looking up from her work, I will personally demonstrate human amputation techniques. For scientific purposes, of course. The ambassador quickly tucked all appendages close to his body. But she cannot, Clicks protested to no one in particular. The database is quite clear on chain of command. Even your highest-ranking medical officers must defer to ship captains and diplomatic personnel in non-medical situations. Lieutenant Thompson just patted the confused alien on what he hoped was a shoulder. Look, buddy, let me explain something about human docs. Technically, yeah, they're not in the direct chain of command. But here's the thing. They're the only ones who can declare someone medically unfit for duty, including the captain, including admirals, including, apparently, ambassadors who don't understand the concept of sterile procedures. Fascinating. Clix's color-shifting skin rippled with academic excitement. So it is a form of informal power structure based on specialized knowledge? Kind of. It's more like, okay, you know how you guys have those sacred wisdom keepers who can override even your high consensus? The rememberers of the deep? But they are spiritual leaders of immense... Click stopped mid-sentence, chromatophores flashing in sudden understanding. Oh my. Meanwhile, Dr. Rodriguez had successfully stabilized the captain and was now turning her full attention to the ambassador, who seemed to be trying to phase through the wall through sheer force of will. Now then, she said, snapping off her gloves with practiced precision. About that friendship spray of yours. I'm going to need a complete chemical breakdown, any previous documented reactions in other species, and your entire medical database. And before you start quoting diplomatic protocols at me again, yes, I can absolutely demand that, because this is now a medical safety issue. The ambassador's skin turned a pale, almost translucent shade of gray. But those are state secrets. The high consensus would never... Let me put this in terms you'll understand. Dr. Rodriguez smiled sweetly. Either I get that information, or I'll be forced to declare your entire species a potential biological hazard and recommend a full quarantine protocol. Imagine explaining that to your consensus. In the corner, Clicks was furiously taking notes. Remarkable. The medical authority supersedes even diplomatic immunity. Is this common among human cultures? Universal, Lieutenant Thompson confirmed. There's an old Earth saying, God made man, but doctors keep them alive. Although in Doc Rodriguez's case, I think she'd argue with God about his design choices. The next few hours were a crash course in human medical hierarchy for the bewildered Vaxthelex delegation. They watched in fascination as Dr. Rodriguez ordered a full decontamination of the diplomatic quarters, overriding the ambassador's privacy concerns, drafted new safety protocols for all future human VXTHLX interactions, overriding 3 separate diplomatic frameworks, mandated medical screenings for the entire VXTHLX delegation, overriding their cultural taboos about internal scanning, and finally, prescribed mandatory rest periods for both human and VXTHLX personnel, overriding everyone's objections. By the end of the day, the ambassador had indeed produced a small cloud of ink when Dr. Rodriguez threatened to demonstrate proper tentacle hygiene procedures. Lieutenant Thompson happily collected his credits from those who hadn't witnessed her previous encounters with reluctant patients. The real breakthrough in human VXTHLX relations came 3 days later, when the High Consensus received the ambassador's report. The concept of medical authority transcending normal command structures resonated deeply with their own traditions of wisdom keepers. Within a week, they had dispatched their own medical experts to begin a cultural exchange program. Captain Hayes, fully recovered thanks to Dr. Rodriguez's quick action, found himself hosting not just diplomatic personnel, but a team of eager VXTHLX medical practitioners all keen to understand this curious human power dynamic. You know, he said to Dr. Rodriguez during his follow-up examination, I think you've single-handedly revolutionized our diplomatic relations. Just doing my job, Captain, she replied, checking his healing plasma burn. Although if this means I can finally get some decent equipment for my medbay. Already approved the requisition, he grinned, along with hazard pay for dealing with diplomatic incidents. Smart man. I knew there was a reason I kept you alive. The incident sparked a fascinating evolution in interstellar diplomatic protocols. The VXTHLX, impressed by the efficiency of human medical authority, began incorporating similar structures into their own hierarchy. Other species, hearing of the dock incident, started paying much closer attention to human medical personnel during diplomatic functions. Within a year, it became standard practice across known space to include medical authorities in all major diplomatic negotiations, not just for health and safety reasons, but because everyone had learned that nothing got humans moving quite like a dock on a mission. As for Dr. Rodriguez, she gained a certain notoriety among alien diplomats. The sight of her approaching with a medical scanner was enough to make even the most obstinate ambassador suddenly remember urgent appointments elsewhere. Clix, who had been assigned as the permanent cultural liaison to the Nightingale, compiled an extensive addendum to the VXTHLX database on human power structures. The entry on medical personnel now began with a warning. While technically outside the standard chain of command, human docs wield authority through a complex combination of specialized knowledge, tradition, and sheer terrifying competence. Do not, under any circumstances, dispute their medical decisions. This is not a suggestion. The addendum was quickly adopted by other species and became required reading for any diplomat preparing for human interaction. It included such helpful hints as, the term doc is both a title of respect and a warning. When a human... No, they cannot actually turn you into food items. This is hyperbole. We think. If a human doc threatens to demonstrate medical procedures on you, retreat immediately. Lieutenant Thompson, who had witnessed the whole affair, found himself regularly asked to explain the phenomenon to bewildered alien visitors. It's pretty simple, he would say, watching them flinch as Dr. Rodriguez strode purposefully past. In space, no one can hear you scream, unless you're within earshot of a doc, in which case they'll definitely hear you, diagnose you, and prescribe something unpleasant, probably in that order. The legacy of the dock incident lived on in diplomatic circles for years. It became something of a legend, passed down through generations of ambassadors as a cautionary tale about assuming too much about human power structures. And somewhere on the Nightingale, Dr. Rodriguez continued her rounds, blissfully unconcerned with her status as an interstellar diplomatic legend. She had patients to treat, crew members to terrorize into taking better care of themselves, and a whole new generation of alien medical personnel to train. Remember, she would tell her mixed human-alien medical staff, in emergency medicine, rank is just a suggestion. The only chain of command that matters is the one that keeps people alive. The VXTHLX medical students would ripple their chromatophores in agreement, while the human interns tried not to look too smug about their profession's unique status. And if sometimes the ambassador still changed color and produced a small ink cloud when she appeared with a medical scanner, well, that was just good diplomatic relations in action. After all, in the vast expanse of space, some things remained constant. The speed of light, the pull of gravity, and the absolute authority of a doc with a patient to treat and a point to prove. "With all due respect, Doc," Lieutenant Thompson said, trying not to flinch under Dr. Rodriguez's glare. "You can't quarantine an entire space station. Watch me." The massive orbital platform Nexus 7, pride of the United Earth Diplomatic Corps and home to 16 different alien species, hung in geosynchronous orbit above Earth. And currently, according to Dr. Rodriguez's latest order, no one was leaving it. "The Thoraxians are going to have a fit," Thompson groaned. "They've got their solar worship ceremony in 2 days, on the surface. You know, where the sun actually is? They can worship through the observation windows until we figure out what's causing half the station's population to break out in synchronized interpretive dance." As if on cue, a delegation of VX-STELX diplomats floated past the medical bay's window, their tentacles moving in perfect rhythm to music only they could hear. Behind them, a group of normally stoic Rigelian trade representatives twirled by in what looked suspiciously like a conga line. Clix, who had been transferred to Nexus 7 as part of the ongoing medical exchange program, changed colors in what humans had learned was their equivalent of a suppressed laugh. "I must admit, Doctor, the choreography is impressive." "Not helping, Clix." The situation had started 3 days ago when the station's first multi-species cultural festival had kicked off. Everything had been going great, a true testament to interstellar cooperation and understanding. There had been food, properly screened by medical, of course, music, at frequencies safe for all known species, and various cultural demonstrations, all thoroughly vetted for safety by Dr. Rodriguez's team. Then people started dancing. Not just normal dancing, perfectly synchronized, involuntary cross-species dancing. "Update from engineering," Lieutenant Thompson's comm chirped. "They found traces of an unknown compound in the station's air recyclers, and... oh no." "What?" Dr. Rodriguez demanded. "The engineering crew has apparently formed a kick line." Dr. Rodriguez pinched the bridge of her nose. "Right. Clix, get me the ambassador. And before you ask, yes, I can summon him. This is now officially a medical emergency with diplomatic implications, which means I outrank God, physics, and especially bureaucracy." The sight of the VX-STELX ambassador being escorted to medical by 2 rhythmically swaying security officers would have been hilarious if it wasn't so concerning. His chromatophores were flashing in what looked like Morse code. "Don't bother with the diplomatic protocols," Dr. Rodriguez cut him off before he could start. "Half your staff is currently performing what looks like an underwater ballet in the 0G section. I need to know everything about that cultural exchange package your entertainment division sent over." The ambassador's skin turned a peculiar shade of puce. But those are proprietary cultural artifacts. The high consensus would never—" "Ambassador." Dr. Rodriguez smiled sweetly, an expression that made 3 nearby nurses dive for cover. "Let me remind you of our last interaction involving state secrets and medical necessity. Only this time, instead of 1 captain with a plasma burn, I have approximately 3,000 beings from 16 different species doing synchronized dance numbers through my station's corridors. I'll have the files sent over immediately." As it turned out, the VX-STELX cultural exchange package had included samples of their ceremonial mood-enhancing spores, completely harmless to their own species, but apparently having some unexpected effects when run through a standard Earth air filtration system. "So you're telling me," Dr. Rodriguez said slowly, "that we've essentially been huffing alien dance spores for 3 days?" "A most fascinating cross-species reaction," Clix enthused, tentacles wiggling excitedly. "The synchronization effect alone could revolutionize our understanding of xenobiology. Perhaps we should—" "Finish that sentence and I'll show you why humans invented the phrase, 'dance like no one's watching,' by making sure no one can watch you dance ever again." The next 48 hours were a crash course in crisis management, alien biochemistry, and impromptu dance criticism. Dr. Rodriguez's medical team worked around the clock, developing an anti-spore treatment while also documenting what Lieutenant Thompson had dubbed the Great Space Dance-Off for medical records. Highlights included the Thoraxian High Priest leading their entire delegation in what looked suspiciously like the Macarena, a group of Rigelian merchants perfectly recreating scenes from Swan Lake, the station's AI getting into the spirit and playing appropriate music for each spontaneous performance. 3 different species independently inventing the same dance move, which Clix insisted on naming the quantum shuffle. The breakthrough came when Dr. Rodriguez realized that the spores were actually responding to the station's artificial gravity fields. A quick adjustment to the grav plating's frequency, combined with a modified air filtration protocol, and the impromptu dance festival began to wind down. "I have to admit," Lieutenant Thompson said, watching the last group of affected diplomats shuffle embarrassedly back to their quarters, "that Andorian ambassador had some moves." "Just wait until they see the medical bills," Dr. Rodriguez muttered. "I'm charging extra for having to watch the Zalaxian trade minister's interpretation of staying alive." The incident had some unexpected positive consequences. The shared experience of involuntary choreography had created a strange sort of bond between the various species. It's hard to maintain diplomatic tension with someone after you've witnessed them performing a perfect fouette in zero gravity. The VXTHLX High Consensus, mortified by the whole affair, fast-tracked several joint medical research projects as a gesture of apology. They also appointed Clix as their permanent liaison to human medical facilities, citing their unique understanding of human medical authority and diplomatic dance protocols. New standard operating procedures were established for all future cultural exchanges, including what became known as the Rodriguez Protocol, a thorough medical screening of all alien substances before they got anywhere near human environmental systems. The station's AI had kept recordings of the entire incident, which were classified as both a medical record and a diplomatic incident. Dr. Rodriguez kept a private copy, which she threatened to release whenever negotiations got too heated. "You know," Clix observed, watching Dr. Rodriguez terrorize a group of new alien diplomats with her medical scanner, "I believe I finally understand why humans say dance to the doctor's tune." "That's not actually the saying," Lieutenant Thompson started to explain, then paused. "Although after this week, maybe it should be." The legacy of the dance incident, as it came to be known, further cemented the unique status of human medical personnel in interstellar relations. The sight of Dr. Rodriguez approaching with a scanner still made diplomats nervous, but now they also had to worry about her extensive collection of blackmail-worthy dance footage. As for Dr. Rodriguez herself, she added a new section to her standard orientation briefing for alien visitors. "Yes, I can quarantine a space station. Yes, I will quarantine a space station. And no, I don't care if you have tickets to the Zero-G ballet." The station's gift shop even started selling commemorative t-shirts. "I survived the Nexus 7 dance festival, and all I got was this lousy shirt and a thorough medical examination." Lieutenant Thompson kept his favorite souvenir on his office wall, a security camera still of the moment the VXTHLX ambassador realized he was doing the chicken dance in front of 3 admirals and a Regelian trade delegation. And somewhere in the vast archives of the VXTHLX consensus, there's still a file marked Human Medical Authority, Addendum 2, Dance Protocol Incident, which simply reads, "When a human doc says dance, the only appropriate response is, what tempo?" No. "But Dr. Rodriguez, you haven't even heard our proposal yet." The Galactic Medical Conference Organizing Committee, represented by 3 species and 6 tentatively raised appendages, wilted under her glare. "Let me guess. You want me to give a presentation about human medical authority in diplomatic situations?" She didn't look up from her medical scanner. "The answer is still no." Lieutenant Thompson, who had somehow become her unofficial PR manager after the dance incident, cleared his throat. "Actually, Doc, they want you to keynote the entire conference. First human ever offered the spot." "Absolutely not." "The High Consensus has already approved additional funding for your research projects," Clix added helpfully, their chromatophores flickering in what humans now recognized as their smugly confident pattern. Dr. Rodriguez's scanner stopped mid-beep. "I'm listening." And that's how the most notorious human doctor in known space found herself standing, under protest, in front of 2,000 alien medical practitioners from across the galaxy. The conference venue, a massive floating auditorium in the VXTHLX home system, was packed to capacity. "So," she began, looking out at the assembled xenomedical community, "I'm supposed to talk about human medical authority and diplomatic relations. Instead, I'm going to tell you about the time I had to explain human hiccups to the entire Regelian High Command." The translator matrices struggled briefly with the concept of hiccups before settling on various species-specific involuntary muscle spasm analogs. The audience leaned forward in interest. It started, as these things usually do, with someone ignoring my medical advice. 3 months earlier, aboard the UES Nightingale. Captain, with all due respect. You know? Captain Hayes interrupted. Whenever you start a sentence with all due respect, I end up in the medbay. Only because you don't listen the first time, Dr. Rodriguez countered. Now, about those breathing exercises I prescribed. The captain's response was cut off by a loud hiss that echoed through his ready room. The visiting Rigelian military attaché, General Krathos, nearly jumped out of his exoskeleton. Intruder alert! The general's security detail shouted, weapons appearing from various hidden appendages. Stand down! Dr. Rodriguez barked with such authority that even the alien soldiers instinctively obeyed. It's just hiccups, which wouldn't be happening if someone had done their prescribed breathing exercises after that last EVA. What manner of combat technique is this hiccups? General Krathos demanded, all 4 eyes fixed on the captain's spasming diaphragm. It's not a... Dr. Rodriguez started to explain, but was interrupted by another loud hike from the captain, which sent the Rigelian security detail into defensive formations. Lieutenant Thompson, who had developed a sixth sense for impending diplomatic medical incidents, chose that moment to arrive. Oh no. Oh yes, Dr. Rodriguez sighed. Get me a glass of water and call the diplomatic corps. Tell them we need a xenobiologist to explain involuntary muscle spasms to the Rigelians before they declare war on the captain's diaphragm. What followed was a 3-hour crash course in human respiratory systems, complete with holographic demonstrations and a surprisingly detailed discussion of evolutionary biology. The Rigelians, it turned out, were fascinated by the concept of involuntary muscular responses that served no immediate survival purpose. So this hiccup is neither an attack signal nor a mating call, General Krathos clarified for the 4th time. For the last time, no, although it might become a mating deterrent if the captain doesn't start following his medical officer's instructions. Dr. Rodriguez gave Hayes a pointed look as he hiccuped again. The incident report that made its way to Rigelian High Command included such gems as human respiratory system includes involuntary spasmodic feature with no apparent tactical advantage. Sound resembles small Earth predator but is not intentionally aggressive. Can be triggered by failure to follow medical authorities' instructions. Note, ensure all diplomatic personnel heed human medical officers. Back at the conference, Dr. Rodriguez surveyed her rapt audience. The point is, half of our job isn't just treating patients. It's explaining basic biological functions to species that might mistake them for acts of war. A Thoraxian medical officer raised 3 of their sensory stalks. Is it true you once quarantined an entire diplomatic mission because they sneezed? That was different, Dr. Rodriguez defended. They were allergic to their own friendship pheromones. Do you have any idea how much paperwork is involved when aliens are allergic to themselves? The resulting discussion spawned 6 new cross-species medical research projects and a 17-page addendum to the Galactic Medical Protocol Handbook titled Human Involuntary Biological Functions and Their Diplomatic Implications. Meanwhile, back on the Nightingale, Lieutenant Thompson was handling the daily influx of requests for Dr. Rodriguez's medical insights. The latest was from the Andorian Science Academy. Dear Dr. Rodriguez, we are fascinated by your recent paper on the diplomatic implications of human yawning. Would you be willing to chair a symposium on contagious human behaviors? We promise no dance spores this time. His reply, approved by Dr. Rodriguez between patient consultations, was succinct. She says she'll do it if you approve her request for new medical scanning equipment. Also, please note that sneezing is not a valid topic for diplomatic discussion unless it's actively causing an interstellar incident. The conference concluded with Dr. Rodriguez being awarded the Galactic Medal of Medical Excellence, which she promptly used as a paperweight for all the new research grant approvals. You know, Clix observed as they headed back to the Nightingale, I believe you've revolutionized xenomedicine again. Just wait until they learn about human stomach growling, Dr. Rodriguez replied with a slightly evil smile. I've got a whole presentation ready for next year's conference titled, Know That Noise Doesn't Mean We're Harboring Alien Parasites. A Guide to Human Digestive Acoustics. Lieutenant Thompson made a mental note to warn the diplomatic corps. Again, the incident gave birth to a new saying among alien medical practitioners. When in doubt, ask a human doc. They've probably had to explain it to someone trying to declare war on it. And somewhere in the depths of Rigelian military archives, There's still a classified file labeled Human Combat Technique, Hiccups, which simply states, status, non-hostile, treatment, obey human medical authority, prevention, always do the breathing exercises. Dr. Rodriguez kept the conference recording, filed right next to her collection of diplomatic dance footage. After all, in the vast expanse of space, some things remained constant. The speed of light, the pull of gravity, and the endless need to explain to aliens that no, that weird human noise probably isn't a declaration of war. Unless, of course, you've ignored your doctor's orders. Then all bets are off. I need you to explain to the Arcturians why humans leak salt water from their eyes, Lieutenant Thompson said, bursting into Dr. Rodriguez's office. She didn't look up from her medical logs. We're crying because someone scheduled sensitivity training with the Arcturians at 0500 ship time. No, I mean in general. They've discovered human entertainment videos and are convinced we're all slowly dissolving. Dr. Rodriguez finally looked up, expression caught between amusement and exasperation. Please tell me they haven't seen Titanic? 3 delegations are already drafting emergency medical aid packages. They think we're dying species that melts when experiencing strong emotions. This was, unfortunately, not the strangest misconception Dr. Rodriguez had dealt with this week. The Galactic Medical Conference had sparked an unprecedented interest in human biological functions, leading to what she now called the Great Xenobiological Panic of 2175. Clicks, who had been quietly documenting the whole affair, changed colors in amusement. Should I add this to the Humans Are Not Actually Dying lecture series? Right after goosebumps are not evidence of nanite infection, and before blushing is not a sign of spontaneous combustion, Dr. Rodriguez sighed. Sometimes I miss the days when they just thought hiccups were a declaration of war. The situation had escalated when the Arcturian Cultural Exchange Office had gotten their appendages on a collection of human emotional documentation, movies, and started cross-referencing them with actual human biological responses. Their preliminary report to the Galactic Medical Council had been concerning. Excerpts from the Arcturian report on human physiological responses. Species appears to leak various fluids based on emotional stimuli. Physical form occasionally trembles without apparent environmental cause. Can change color, primarily facial regions, when experiencing strong emotions. Produces strange vocalizations, laughing, that can be contagious within the species. Conclusion: humans may be in constant state of medical distress. Dr. Rodriguez found herself giving yet another presentation, this time to a panel of concerned alien medical officials. No, humans are not constantly dying, she explained to the assembled xenomedical experts. We're just emotionally leaky. A Thoraxian medical officer raised their sensory stalks in distress. But the documentation! We observed a human female producing enough saline solution to float a large watercraft while her potential mate expired in the cold waters of their planet. That was a movie. Dr. Rodriguez pinched the bridge of her nose. It's entertainment. Fiction. Not a medical documentary. You mean? The Arcturian chief medical officer's crystalline structure flickered in confusion. Humans intentionally create false documentation of their species experiencing emotional distress for entertainment? Wait until they discover horror movies, Lieutenant Thompson whispered to Clicks. Don't you dare. Dr. Rodriguez shot him a warning look. I'm still dealing with the fallout from when they found soap operas. The Regellians tried to quarantine Earth because they thought we were having a planet-wide emotional breakdown. The resulting symposium on human entertainment versus reality, a medical perspective, became required viewing for all alien medical personnel. Dr. Rodriguez's presentation, titled, No, They're Not Really Dying, A Guide to Human Dramatic Performance, won several academic awards and one very confused Arcturian Performance Art Prize. Key points from the presentation included: crying is normal and not a sign of imminent dissolution. Humans can control their emotional displays, sometimes. Entertainment videos are not valid medical documentation. Please stop sending emergency medical aid packages every time you see a human rom-com. The situation took an unexpected turn when the VXLX Entertainment Division became fascinated by the concept of emotional performance art. Their first attempt at human-style drama, The Medical Officer's Authority, a study in human power dynamics, became an unexpected hit across 3 sectors. Dr. Rodriguez refused to watch it, but Lieutenant Thompson kept her updated on the key plots. They've got someone playing you, he reported, trying not to laugh. The actor changes colors to match human emotional states, They turn bright red when delivering medical orders. Please tell me they didn't include the dance incident. They made it the season finale. The Andorians are already demanding a sequel. The drama's success led to a whole new genre of xeno-entertainment, human medical authority fiction. Shows like Grey's Extraterrestrial Anatomy and How to Get Away with Missing Your Physical became surprise hits, though most humans found the aliens' interpretation of their medical practices creative. Sample titles included The Doctor's Word is Law, a medical romance; Diagnostic Dance, The Nexus 7 Incident; Emergency Room Earth, Understanding Human Leakage; Doc Rodriguez, The Unauthorized Biography, which she threatened to treat as a diplomatic incident. The Galactic Medical Council eventually had to issue guidelines about distinguishing between human entertainment and actual medical documentation. Dr. Rodriguez's contribution to the guidelines was succinct. If it looks too dramatic to be real, it's probably human entertainment. If it looks too ridiculous to be entertainment, it's probably real human biology.